18, 2024, News Report 1. Philippine GMA TV station reported that on June 17, the Philippine military dispatched 6 ships to deliver supplies to Renai Reef, but they were intercepted and attacked by Chinese Coast Guard ships. In the conflict, 7 Philippine soldiers were injured, with one losing a finger. GMA TV also reported that 4 Philippine patrol boats and 4 soldiers were detained by the Chinese Coast Guard but later released after negotiations. Palawan News pointed out that due to the interception by the Chinese Coast Guard, all Philippine vessels failed to reach Renai Reef and complete their resupply mission. On June 17, the Chinese Coast Guard intercepted, warned, and boarded Philippine vessels. According to the new administrative enforcement procedures of the Chinese Coast Guard, which took effect on June 15, the Chinese Coast Guard is authorized to arrest foreign nationals entering China's designated waters and detain their vessels. The U.S. Department of Defense issued a statement on June 15 condemning the actions of the Chinese Coast Guard against Philippine vessels. On June 17, the U.S. Department of Defense and State Department issued another statement condemning China's escalating provocations in the South China Sea and reaffirming the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty, warning China that any Philippine deaths in the South China Sea would cross a red line. The governments of Canada and the United Kingdom also condemned China's actions, while France and Japan expressed concern. News Report 2. The Taiwan Legislative Yuan will hold a committee meeting on June 19 to 20 to invite the Premier, Su Tseng-chang, to explain the reconsideration of the 5 major parliamentary reform bills. A vote on the reconsideration will be held on June 21. The 5 major parliamentary reform bills passed by the Kuomintang and the People's Party on May 28 were criticized for infringing on the president's constitutional rights and weakening Taiwan's democracy, leading to dissatisfaction among civil groups, prompting the Executive Yuan to propose an administrative reconsideration. Civil groups in Taiwan initiated the Bluebird Action to protest against the parliamentary reform bills, with about 100,000 people demonstrating outside the Legislative Yuan. Civil groups called on the public to continue protesting outside the Legislative Yuan to defend democracy. The Economic Democracy Union called on millions of small shop owners in Taiwan to suspend business for a day and join the protests outside the Legislative Yuan. The Taiwan Foundation for Democracy conducted a survey from June 11 to 13 after the parliamentary reform bills were passed. The results showed that the support rate for the Democratic Progressive Party was 37.4%, the Kuomintang was 17.8%, and the People's Party was 14.3%. 56.9% of respondents believed that the modification process did not undergo sufficient discussion, 51.9% supported the Executive Yuan's administrative reconsideration, and 33.5% opposed it. President Lai Ching-te's approval rating after 1 month in office was 48.2%, with 25.6% disagreeing with his governance. 43.1% of respondents expressed satisfaction with Premier Su Tseng-chang's performance, while 25.4% were dissatisfied. News Report 3. The Taiwan Ministry of National Defense pointed out that on June 17, 20 PLA aircraft and 7 warships were active near the Taiwan Strait, with 12 aircraft crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait into Taiwan's southwest and southeast airspace. 7 aircraft flew across the median line of the Taiwan Strait, 56 nautical miles from Taichung. The Ministry of National Defense of Taiwan also pointed out that a drone flew around Cape Eluanbai towards the southeast seas of Taiwan, 39 nautical miles from Cape Eluanbai. A PLA helicopter was active 60 nautical miles from Taitung. Against this backdrop, the 6th Army Corps of the Taiwan Army conducted live-fire exercises at Zhongfu Beach in New Taipei City on June 18 to test the Red Beach strategy to prevent a PLA landing. Also on June 17, 23 Chinese civil aircraft flew over Kinmen and Matsu. Former Air Force Deputy Commander Zhang Yanting told Liberty Times that China's actions are no longer gray zone operations but an invasion of Taiwan's airspace using civil aircraft. Zhang Yanting emphasized that if the Taiwan government only protests verbally without taking action, the Chinese government will step by step deny Taiwan's sovereignty. News Report 4. Radio Free Asia reported that the Japanese Consulate General in China has recently tightened visa requirements for Chinese tourists. On one hand, Chinese applicants are required to submit financial information for visa applications. On the other hand, the rejection rate for specific professions and specific places of residence has increased. A staff member of a travel agency in Guangdong said that in the past few months, more than a dozen tour groups have absconded after arriving in Japan. In early June alone, 2 tour groups from Guangdong to Japan absconded halfway. The travel agency staff said that it is now easy to find work in Japan, and many people who cannot find work in China go to Japan to work illegally and make money. A list of high rejection rates for visas circulated on Twitter by the Japanese consulate shows that the following groups are more likely to be rejected. First, freelancers, low-educated individuals, and those without social security. Second, those without assets and rural hukou. Third, those living in Liaoning, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Shandong. In addition, a list of high-incidence areas for illegal Chinese staying in Japan has also been circulated on Twitter, including Qinzhou in Hunan, Weinan in Shaanxi, Shaogan in Hubei, and Guangyuan in Sichuan. News Report 5. Yonhap News Agency reported that the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff stated on June 18 that there have been numerous explosion accidents recently when North Korean soldiers were burying landmines in the inter-Korean demilitarized zone, resulting in many North Korean soldiers' deaths, but North Korean soldiers are still continuing their work. Since April this year, the North Korean military has begun to bury landmines, install anti-aircraft guns, and build tactical roads in the northern boundary line of the demilitarized zone, 2 kilometers north of the inter-Korean demilitarized zone, to strengthen defensive fortifications. Thousands of North Korean soldiers are working in the demilitarized zone every day. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff stated that at 8 a.m. on June 18, dozens of North Korean soldiers crossed the inter-Korean border line. The South Korean military forced North Korean soldiers to retreat northward by broadcasting warnings and firing warning shots. The same situation also occurred on June 9, when dozens of North Korean soldiers crossed the border line, and South Korea fired warning shots again. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff believe that the 2 recent border crossings by North Korean soldiers may have been purely accidental, and South Korea hopes to de-escalate such incidents through dialogue. News Report 6. The Hong Kong Immigration Department announced on June 18 that 180,000 Hong Kong residents have not yet replaced their identity cards, and the old identity cards will expire in 2025. Specifically, the old identity cards of those born after 1970 will expire on May 12, 2025, while those born in 1969 or earlier will expire on October 12, 2025. A spokesperson for the Immigration Department said that most of the residents who have not replaced their identity cards are overseas. Hong Kong residents need to use their identity cards for immigration procedures. Since 2018, the Immigration Department has been promoting the replacement of the new generation of identity cards. However, after the anti-extradition bill protests, the Hong Kong government announced in 2021 that it would no longer recognize BNO passports as valid travel documents. Hong Kong residents must present their Hong Kong identity cards or passports when flying back to Hong Kong. If Hong Kong residents overseas have both expired identity cards and passports, their only option is to go to the Chinese embassy to apply for a new Hong Kong passport in order to return to Hong Kong. Otherwise, they will not be able to return to Hong Kong. This measure is considered to deprive Hong Kong residents of their right of abode and the right to return to Hong Kong. Previously, identity cards did not expire because they are a confirmation of personal identity and a symbol of rights, and should not have an expiration date. News Report 7. On June 18, the IMD World Competitiveness Yearbook 2024 was released by the International Institute for Management Development, IMD, in Lausanne, Switzerland. The top 10 rankings are as follows: Singapore is first, Switzerland is second, Denmark is third, Ireland is fourth, Hong Kong has fallen to fifth, Sweden is sixth, the UAE is seventh, Taiwan is eighth, the Netherlands is ninth, and Norway is 10th. The United States is ranked 12th, China 14th, South Korea 20th, Thailand 25th, Indonesia 27th, and Japan 38th. The World Competitiveness Yearbook was first published in 1989 and aims to provide trend analysis of competitiveness in various countries. The yearbook evaluates 67 countries and is divided into 4 categories: economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure, covering more than 300 competitiveness test criteria. 2/3 of the data in the evaluation comes from official statistics published by various countries or internationally, and 1/3 comes from survey visits. In addition, international consulting firm Mercer released the 2024 Global Cost of Living City Rankings on June 17. Hong Kong topped the list as the city with the highest cost of living globally, followed by Singapore and Zurich. The top 10 cities are Geneva at 4th, Basel at 5th, Bern at 6th, New York at 7th, London at 8th, Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas, at 9th, and Los Angeles at 10th. Among Asian cities, Shanghai ranks 23rd, Beijing 25th, Seoul 32nd, Shenzhen 34th, Tokyo 49th, and Taipei 69th, Toronto ranks 92nd. The main reason for the decline in rankings in the Asian region is that this survey is measured in US dollars, and the appreciation of the US dollar has led to a decline in rankings of Asian cities. This report covers 226 cities worldwide, comparing more than 200 items such as housing, transportation, food, and entertainment, and also considers factors such as inflation, economy, employment, and geopolitics. News Report 8. CNN published an analytical article on June 17 pointing out that the 3 countries with the highest cost of raising children in the world are South Korea, China, and Italy. CNN cited a research report published by the Chinese Population Research Institution, Parenting Population, in February this year, which showed that the cost of raising a child in South Korea from birth to 18 years old is 335 million South Korean won, about $240,000 US, which is 7.8 times the per capita GDP of South Korea, ranking first in the world. The second highest country is China, with a cost of raising a child from birth to 18 years old of $94,500, which is 6.3 times China's GDP. Italy ranks third, with the cost of raising a child being 6.28 times its GDP. Other countries with high costs of raising children include the UK, 5.25 times, New Zealand, 4.55 times, Japan, 4.26 times, and the United States, 4.11 times. In contrast, countries with lower costs of raising children include France, 2.24 times, Singapore, 2.1 times, and Australia, 2.08 times. The report from the Parenting Population pointed out that one of the reasons for China's particularly low fertility rate is the high cost of raising children. In addition, the difficulty for women to balance family and work is also a major factor. China has had a population birth rate lower than 10 million for 2 consecutive years, and this year's birth rate may be lower than 8 million. In fact, China's population crisis has already occurred. News Report 9. On June 18, the Attorney General of Thailand charged former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra with lèse-majesté. Thaksin is accused of offending the monarchy during his exile in South Korea in 2015, when he gave an interview claiming that the Thai king supported the 2014 military coup, which led to the ousting of his sister, then Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra's government. The Attorney General of Thailand believes that this statement offended the monarchy, and under the lèse-majesté law, Thaksin faces a maximum sentence of 15 years. Thaksin's lawyer said that the National Peace and Order Council had pressured investigators to obtain evidence through illegal means, and the case involved bias. Thaksin denies all charges. The Attorney General of Thailand approved Thaksin's bail pending trial at 500,000 baht, about $14,000. Thaksin returned to Thailand in October last year, ending years of exile. At that time, the Thai king commuted his sentence for corruption to 1 year. He was released in February this year. However, the Thai Attorney General has again brought charges, possibly because the Thai king is still not trusting of Thaksin and is taking further action. It is understood that the current Thai king is very different from his father, which has also led to the unstable political situation in Thailand. News Report 10. According to Agence France-Presse, the Senate of Thailand approved same-sex marriage on June 18 with 130 votes in favor, 4 against, and 18 abstentions. The bill was passed by the House of Representatives in March this year. After the Senate's approval, the bill will be submitted to the Thai king for approval and published in the Royal Gazette. It will come into effect 120 days later. Thailand will become the third country in Asia to allow same-sex marriage, following Taiwan and Nepal. Activists expect that Thailand may hold its first same-sex wedding in October this year. The passage of same-sex marriage in Thailand is significant and far-reaching, including aspects such as tax reporting, inheritance, and adoption. Although Thailand has long been tolerant of LGBTQ activities, same-sex partners were unable to register for marriage due to legal restrictions. News Report 11. The Malaysian Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, stated during an event in Penang on June 18 that Malaysia will soon initiate the process of joining the BRICS countries. Anwar said that the Malaysian Ministry of Foreign Affairs had started studying how to apply to join the BRICS 2 months ago and expressed the intention to join to Brazilian President Lula. This is the first time Anwar has publicly stated that Malaysia plans to join the BRICS. Currently, there are 10 members of the BRICS countries, including China, Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, Egypt, Iran, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Ethiopia. Meanwhile, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang visited Malaysia on June 18, and the two countries signed a Memorandum of Understanding on the Belt and Road and a 5-year plan for new economic and trade cooperation. In addition, the previous Argentine government decided to join the BRICS countries in January this year, but the new president, Mañana Amadorayni, decided not to participate after taking office.